Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where we have the pleasure in connecting with you today. Thanks for joining. Whether you're here live or you're listening to our recording on YouTube, we thank you for being here. We have an hour packed of fun. We have some surprise guests here as well from Microsoft. We'll do some introduction in just a second. But what we've been seeing is this push towards industries, and specifically in and around manufacturing. That's what we're going to focus on today. So before we go ahead and get started and do all these introductions, I know that a few of you have reached out to us about different webcasts that Microsoft and PPM Works are putting on. We are partnering and going through most of the industries that are coming up here. So today we're going to be focusing on the efficiency of Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Project. Then we're going to get into healthcare next week, followed by finance and retail. Then we're going to be getting into some of the new releases that are here. There's something called Project Operations. I'll be talking about it just a bit today, but not going into anywhere near the detail that you need there. And then we're going to get into the energy and government sector. So this recording and everything about this is industry specific. And with that being said, we are going to go through a bunch of things, and we are delighted to have Jeff Pikulik here. He is the SSP, which is this solution specialist for everything that has to do with manufacturing in and around project and Visio, but especially around project and the operational and digital transformation that's happening around Microsoft 365. So we're going to be talking about that digital transformation, and Jeff's really going to be leading us off. And how do you really accelerate that? And what does that mean for your organization? Is there a culture component to it? And I don't want to steal any more of his thunder as he'll lead in there. Then we're going to get into the new landscape and what we're really seeing across this industry of manufacturing. What does it mean to your organization, not only to follow this digital transformation, but also understand where the tools and the people can be involved during this. We'll talk a little bit about the overall solutions from a technology perspective, both from Microsoft and from PPM Works, and what we provide, specifically in and around enabling the manufacturing organizations quick real-to-market offerings. We have some samples around Six Sigma, as well as the all-important new product development. And we'll actually go through a sample in new product development, and you'll be able to see what we're doing here. All of this is going to be around the visibility that's going to be needed for your organization to understand what areas we're growing into, where are the impacts of different things, specifically around project and work management, but also around the entire visibility around data and data management as we go through this digital transformation. So we know these are tough times, and we thank you for being on the call and today. Things have changed, and COVID has definitely transformed, how we look at all our businesses, especially with manufacturing here. And as we talk about the digital transformation as well as technology, there definitely has been a disruption. Think about all the workers, regardless of where you are in the line, had to potentially work from home or just stop working for a bit. And then this release and getting back to the new normal. And as our shift to remote work for those that can, even in the manufacturing area, but then those disruptions potentially in the supply chain. Are we getting the supplies? Anecdotal, we're doing a little addition on our house here, and to see the increase in the price of just labor, but also the supplies, was something that we weren't even expecting. So it has not only transformed every industry, but it hits in core when we talk about it. Now we're going to focus on this resiliency that the manufacturing organization has really challenged and picked up, and they've moved forward. Really, we're always going to focus on our clients and getting product out the door, making sure that we're doing it in a safe and very efficient way. But how can we do things even quicker? How do we solve those business problems with technology and maybe improvement to those processes? And really now it's up to us, now that the technology is front and center here, is that we need to take that information that we're learning on a day-to-day basis, and it's changing, and really incorporate that into our digital transformation. So these challenges that the pandemic have brought are really opportunities for us to refine and replace and actually to work and co-work with every level of our organization, from the suppliers all the way through the line to the product to the customer. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, we did see some trends that are out there in and around for manufacturing. This was pulled from Forbes Insight here, and it really says 20% increase in productivity when adopting some changes, whether it's smart IoT with the factory, looking through your different processing, changing automation. Now, automation could be on the shop floor, or it could be just with simply managing work or projects. Also, 64%, and that's quite a large number, right, of first-line workers either say or they lack the technology they need. Is it because they need to be trained? Is it that our manufacturing organizations are just slow to adopt some of these different technologies? Well, we're going to go through some examples of some industries and some shop floors, if you will, production floors of the future. But we really want to stop and focus on, how does this translate for you? What does this mean as far as digital transformation? And again, I wanted to really thank Jeff for taking his time. Jeff Pikulik is going to walk us through a digital transformation and really understanding what that means and bringing his expertise around the manufacturing industry. Jeff?
Thanks a lot, Jock. And I would say in this crazy time and as we move out of it, certainly I think we all feel desperation has driven some inspiration. I think I've used this time to really reflect on things I've done in the past and how I need to, do my day-to-day job differently, but how we look at things more broadly. And Jock and team, thanks for letting me speak in the webinar today. I really do miss kind of the events and the speaking to people and sharing kind of my viewpoint. I get the luxury of, talking to probably over 100 project offices, engineering teams, different program teams every year. And it's really gives me opportunity to reshape how I think about things. To Jock, your personal situation, desperation driving inspiration. I think if anybody needs a little more space in their house, it's you with the growing boy. So good luck with that. And when I began to reflect on how I'm approaching things, I was reminded of a book I had read a while back, The Innovators Dilemma. And Clayton Christensen, I believe, is the author. And, he really forces us to say, it's one thing to be very company centric or industry centric and rethink of what you're doing, but you really need to step back and open that lens and reimagine the world. So if you can go to the next slide, I put that in the context of, what it means for project leadership. And I think we're at a very unique place. I mean, in manufacturing, I was an industrial engineer. I went through University of Wisconsin in the 80s, and in 1990, lean was everything. And if we look back, lean is now 40 years old. And in manufacturing, we really never pushed it across the threshold. We still always had one foot in one environment, and we're using lean and Six Sigma as necessary to change things. And I think the COVID experience has forced us now to really embrace that. And in project leadership, the same, Jack, if you go back one slide, in the project leadership, it's the same thing. I think we're really in a position now where project leadership really means rethinking people and process and technology. Obviously, I'm with Microsoft. We're in a luxury. We have some of the best tools available, people and process and technology wise. But I would encourage us as project leadership to really think about the identity of the individuals. What are the motivations behind people that are on our project teams? Let's consider the richness of the work we're embedding in projects. I mean, change is the new norm, and projects are what delivers change. When we think about wellness, and I know we all, maybe do some meditation in the morning. We do everything, I just went out over lunch, grabbed a little sunlight to try to, keep the spirits up and get the vitamin D levels up. But we have to really now think about people-centric. How are we going to get the breakthroughs we need? And I do think that the multiplier effect is going to be reimagining empowerment and getting to a place where, collaboration is our new tenet for communication and break down the barriers that we've always known existed. So Jacques, you can go on to the next one. Thanks. So in that book by Clayton Christensen, the Innovators Dilemma, I think these are things we are aware of, and from a business model perspective, they make a lot of sense, and we all can nod and say, yeah, that's great. We all know that, especially in more traditional industries, processes are very structured, and they don't favor experimentation. We spend the vast majority of our resources and time on keep the lights on type of activities. It's very difficult to take your best and brightest and focus on innovation when day-to-day things need to be done. And any of us that are executives or work with executives, all we hear and feel is that they're spent focused on what we all think of as core priorities. When we step back, we really say, are our core priorities what are going to take us to the future, or are they what it locks us into, getting to Friday and getting to our next quarterly earnings report or whatever it might be? Are they really placing big bets? And whether it's Gates or Jobs or whoever we try to emulate, they put some bets out there. They recognize that we have to do some things different. So if we go on to the next slide. Again, these same themes, when we bring them closer into the project leadership community, and when I get to talk to project offices, these are the things I really think about. I begin to hear in not necessarily explicitly what they're saying, but between the gaps, between the words they're saying, is what we really need to do is say, what are we doing around people, process, technology? And when we say technology, I think we mean data in most cases, but you have to take that bigger lens approach and focus on innovating projects. And these are the things I throw out there as inspiration, hopefully things we can, use the new capabilities to deliver on and not let it take 40 years. But if we can let the people and the teams, work how they want to work, and our only true mandate to that should be, if they can do it in a way that gives us visibility to it, we can give them all the flexibility they need around execution. And I think that's key. I used to work for a governor, and his biggest thing was the hardest trains to steer are the ones that aren't moving on the track. So the first bullet really to me means let the people work how they want and get that work flowing. Once the work's flowing, we can really step back and say, now what are we going to do about it? I'd say the number one, key word or theme I'm hearing about project management and the themes around PMI and all that is really around portfolio. And portfolio means a lot of things to a lot of people. I've actually been toying out some schedules with an individual here recently, and every one of his emails comes through that he's trying to understand his portfolio. And I'm anxious to speak to this person live because portfolio means a lot of things to a lot of people, but to me, portfolio means it's the connective thinking or the network idea behind how we're associating value, how we're associating programs and output, and how we're associating the interdependencies of resources. So to me, connective thinking is backed by data. That's going to naturally unveil which portfolios are really important to us. The other thing I think is really, if there's anything at the doorstep, especially with I'll call it the work from home environment coming back to the workplace now, is how are we going to free up the talent? And I think synonymous to talent is time for bold innovation. I think we need to be in a place of, I'm at a place where my kids are now, just through college and in careers of their own, is how do we listen to the young people? How do we understand that we need to be open to rapid experimentation? It doesn't mean, throw everything to the wind, but it says, let's be open for those new ideas and embrace some innovation. And I think the other side of that is the practical part of being a project officer is really resource optimization. And I know that I grew up with, the 4-level Gantt chart and a lot of the, principles that we were trying to loosen up from before COVID. Certainly we now all embrace agile and lean and recognize that But I think the fundamental, whether regardless of the methodology, is our resource optimization really freeing up effort from the status quo to take on tasks and things that are going to be higher value or bigger bets. And, if it's a self-directed team, whether that's an agile framework or maybe a really strong department, I think we got to give them freedom to free up those resources, but really hold them accountable of saying, are we applying those resources to higher value? And then the bottom one, which is, I hope inspirational to everybody, is incentives around pay. I get that. We all kind of do what we can, but I think we really need to think about incentives around personal happiness. And I don't think and Satya Nadella, our very wise CEO, he brings it into real life. There's not a real work-life balance anymore. You have one life. It includes work. It includes things you enjoy doing outside of the Teams meetings. In this case, a Zoom meeting. It's about personal happiness. And I think we need to think about projects and the teams that are on those projects of saying, how are we making sure that they feel achievement? They feel achievement as an individual and they feel achievement as a team. How are we making sure everybody on that team gets validation and they feel a sense of belonging? And then flexibility and control over what they're asked to do. So, these are the things that I really get inspired about. Jacques, I'm going to ask you just to go through a couple more slides here. This is in the manufacturing industry, what Microsoft is focused on is really getting into a new norm for manufacturing. But I did want to touch on the three things I think we all can focus on is enhancing the project experience, continuing to do anything we can. And I really do believe it's this verb of portfolio. And by verb of portfolio, it's constantly churning the mix of things to become a value multiplier. And lastly, creating team-based decision models. Jacques shared some great stats at the beginning of this, and there's always a lot of percentages and things. The 3 percentages I really want to get my arms around as I continue to work with accounts on project and portfolio and work management is what is the value spent, or the other way to think about it, value lost between switching tasks and reassembling teams. We have to really think about how are we going to become really organic and efficient at moving between tasks and reassembling teams to get the work done as necessary. We have to get better at that. In the middle, we really have to think about the value lost when we're not adjusting that portfolio in a nimble enough fashion. One of the questions I used to ask when I would have the pleasure of going on site with accounts and sitting with the project office is often a challenging, maybe a leadership position, is saying, how often do you cancel projects? It's crazy that people say they do portfolio management, but nothing's ever deprecated. We're always great at throwing more projects at people, but let's really say, what is the perfect blend? What's the best blend to create value? And then the last one, and this is the metric that is really stuck in my mind now, and I'm trying to understand how I can help come up with a measurement of it. But what's the percentage of the team members, the individuals that really need day-to-day motivation? It's a stressful time for everybody, but what percentage of the team members are actively involved in decisions? Or are they just being given tasks and being told to kind of push through to the end? So, Jacques, if you can go to the big globe slide, I just want to share with people our mission at Microsoft. It's about 2-3 more. We can skip this. I want to keep us on time. As you guys know, I can go on forever. One more slide, please. So, at Microsoft, we are all in with our accounts. I always tell people, never consider it to be a necessity to fit into a Microsoft world. What we're really is, we're open to all types of people, process, and technologies. I'm fortunate to work for a very empathetic company, but I think what we need to do is really fulfill our mission, starting with what our CEO is after and what I think our products are now focused at doing, which is just empowering every person, making them feel good about what they're working on, making them feel that the way they're working on it is productive, and they're not spending time trying to fit a mandate, trying to fit a process, trying to fit their work into a particular tool or method. And I think when we empower those persons to get their work done, the organizations are going to benefit, and we're going to achieve a lot more. So as I looked at connected innovation and digitization, it's about this. Let's think about, are we using data and tools to let every person work the way they want to work? And I think if we do that, we're going to achieve a lot more as an organization. And then ultimately what our big missions are is, people and the planet, and making sure we get everything we can out of that. So Jacques, that's what I wanted to share. I look forward to your presentation. I really appreciate our partners who continue to adopt the platform Microsoft puts out there and bring great solutions to our customers. So thanks, everyone.
Jeff, thanks for bringing your expertise. Always great to hear from you, and sharing that. And I liked, as always, this is about more than just getting the job done. There's that human element to it as well. So when we're going through and really talking, Jeff knows where we sort of come from in our organization as well, is there is more to the picture than just getting things done. We've worked with thousands of manufacturers, from Microsoft being part of this team from the production and as well as the marketing side of one slice of this over the entire manufacturing industry. And we have been working with many industries that have been doing digital transformation. So regardless of the industry, there are some key focus, but it does resonate true here with manufacturing, and what we learned is that the most successful organizations that are out there are the ones that really understand the process, and they understand that the process is a journey. So when you take a look at this, this journey really supports their vision and their strategy, and they have a clear vision and strategy, and they understand that their culture and how quickly or slowly it adapts to different change when we're talking about this digital move and onto technology. And it really highlights, the unique potential for both individuals as well as team players or team contributors that are there. And, it's going to be that growth of both their internal capabilities and potentially partnering and getting some external capabilities that are out there. It's these fundamental elements, these four, if you will, that really, once they understand and they follow these and they're guided by these principles, that's when, and only then, is when they can sort of turn and focus towards technology. So really putting that empathetic side on there that Jeff mentioned from Satya all the way down is technology is just the tool. And Jeff and I will be the first to say this. It's really people are and always should be the focus here. So, once we do that, this journey that we go through is going to provide more value, and it's going to provide the desired outcomes, whatever that happens to be. If it's, to transform and to have more efficient processes, to better gain a hold somewhere, that's really what we're going to be doing. So it's this use of technology too, and we talk about, okay, this is great. We're going to go ahead and be more efficient, and we're going to do things quicker. We're going to, produce more. Especially coming from a manufacturing lens, that's absolutely true. But key is going to be the modern workplace, really, for manufacturers, getting them the new skills, to keep up with the technology that we're rolling out, to keep up with everything that's happening around us on a daily basis. And really, it's that capability of getting training potentially that's going to impact everybody. So either get on board as the digital train, or we might be left behind. So when we hear from executives and senior leadership that are scrambling and saying, hey, we need to do something, we know we need to do it, Jeff just showed us that picture, and we need to jump on board, where do we actually get started? It doesn't have to be the big bang approach either. So when you're using that technology, you really use it and work through your workforce. Start with them. get the training they need, provide the tools and technology, and we're going to sort of go through that. Now, there's two real areas when we talk about this transformation. It's going to be under the operational side and really understanding maybe innovation, different processes that might be optimizing different areas. We talked about efficiency and really making sure that we take hold of that. But that's also really going to bring light or progress us through in our goals. So what are we delivering to the customer? What are we value are we creating there? And again, if we want to talk tactical and speed to market, that's one thing, but also we just left a slide about keeping our workforce enabled and keeping them happy and coming to work every day. So that is key. So giving them the tools to not only get things done quicker, but then being able to be a human, be a part of life, both at work and at home. Now, from a technology modernization, you might have joined and said, hey, I thought that's what this whole thing was going to be about. And absolutely, it does. But taking that automated business process, if you will, using Microsoft 365 or different tools that we're going to show today in and around Microsoft Project to see the resourcing and really understanding how it is, all the way to IoT devices and being able to see real-time sensors or maybe temperature gauges that are happening at the floor. You have all of this. Microsoft provides this umbrella within the technology. So what we're seeing and hearing is not only a resilient supply chain, but also the resiliency in moving forward with the manufacturing. Now, a traditional manufacturing, if you look at this, and you can go into the detail here, our Microsoft partners in the manufacturing area from the manufacturing marketing team provided us this. And if you go through this, from the inbound all the way out to getting this thing out and sending this out, there was limited, I would say, or didn't have that digital feedback at any point. So each one of these, there should be an ability to log in, be a part of a collaborative area. Now, when we talk about this, we're going to show what that means, and how does that help out with teams and being able to integrate directly in there. So from what Jeff showed about optimizing and engaging and bringing, just want to end on these quick slides here. Now, on the left-hand side, you're going to talk about, your optimization, where on the right-hand side, you can talk about the solutions. Now, we both mentioned a couple different technologies in helping you to not only increase your digital transformation and that journey and speed it up rapidly, but really replacing those manual processes. You can start from something as simple as Excel, or just using Teams to talk and provide that consistency, that knowledge base on a different question per se. Or maybe it's an innovation area where we have to have a new product or a new diagram or schematic that's out there. We could actually track that and see in real time what those changes are going to be. And maybe on a project lens, we could actually see how resources are engaged and are we over allocated? Do we have the right type of maybe engineer that's on the project? How does this all work together? And you can take your different pain point that you have and just start with a few simple ones and figure out, hey, is there a better way we can do this? And when we go through this demonstration, you're going to start to see how all these pieces can play together. And you can go into any depth that you want and any level and any cadence and speed that you want. But the thing to know about the culture in that slide that we had before is understand how your workforce or your teams work today. And can we just take their tool? It can be a tool, maybe it's as old as Excel that's out there. Maybe you keep that Excel and you start to build process around that tool and be able to create that visibility. And that's really what we're trying to do here. From having automated and visual HoloLens on, you saw at some of these different conferences that are out there, you can actually, rotate the diagram and actually see on the shop floor or the manufacturing floor what part it is that we're trying to look at or what part might have a failure. Or maybe there's a recall that we need to be able to. How does that recall impact everything from what we're doing production to how do we market and how do we get that information out to the public? There are different aspects there in and around everything that we have to do with manufacturing. Now, from the ability to build, both from a planning perspective. This is sort of where you mix in that hybrid approach. And you might have something, you call the traditionalist or the waterfall. Might be a DMAIC, schedule that we're talking about, Six Sigma, or maybe a true agile, as the agile folks like, Jeff mentioned, back, 30, 40 years, were Scrum when we were talking about that and where that actually came to. But actually being able to align this information and be able to have not only a planning process that takes in the information, we can see it, we have that visibility, but in and along the distribution of the actual product, we're having those different processes. So streamlining those processes, making quicker, easy, smarter, hopefully, decisions, that's going to enable us in this journey. Two more. We talk about the supply chain and visibility. For those who are talking manufacturing, a lot of people want to talk about supply chain. That's great. So now you have the ability to do this. We mentioned, and we're going to sort of highlight, there's something coming down the road. It's called project operations, and it'll give you a little bit more granularity into some of the everyday tools that you use today. During the demonstration, we're going to show in and around that visibility around team, easy dashboards, and the likes of that. Now, what comes out of here, the final slide here, is going to be in and around maximizing, if you will, or getting the ROI out of it. So everything that we put in, how do we get that? So is there real-time reporting through Power BI? Do we need to use some other AI device that's out there and pulling that information, if you will, to our fingertips? That's what we really want to see when we take a look at how does all this fit in. Now, we have a bunch of different slides here, and I'm going to stop on that, but I do want to talk about the technologies that we mentioned. From a work management area, there are several areas that we're going to talk about, but what we're going to go through in the demonstration, I'll let this build here, is starting with a cohesive area, one slate, and it's going to be purple. It's going to be in and around teams. One area where we can manage everything. We just talked about improvement to process, getting started small, but actually going across the entire life cycle of the process and making sure that we reap the benefits of those. So how can we do that? If we start off in one area, meaning teams, we can pull in all these discrete items that we need to do. So this alternative modern work experience, if you will, this suite of managing things, all comes down in and can be serviced through Microsoft, the Power Platform, which will be tying and stitching this in. Now on this slide, you're going to see a lot of Microsoft logos, and that's great. You can add in anything that you're using currently that's non-Microsoft, and we welcome that. If you're using some tool today and it's working great for you, wonderful. Let's just serve it up in an area where we can start to record the information, distribute the knowledge to others, see maybe issues or risks, and be able to capture that data and be able to, in real time, be able to make data-driven decisions. And that, my friends, is really what we're going to be taking a look at in and around there. Now, I know I mentioned, with Six Sigma and things like that, so I did sort of want to bring up, one area. When we talk about the selection area and, define, measure, we can create different templates, and it can come, out of the box in these different areas. Or what you can also have is this, tool set that comes from, maybe a different organization or a different tool out there that you're managing. You can link that, from your actual success of your project. And on one side, you'll have your PMPs, right? And you'll have your process in and around project management. But on the other side, you're going to have that constant look to continual improvement. And where do those pieces come in with continual improvement? You can keep that same process that you're using today and just embed it in an area that we can go ahead and see. Now, we're going to be showing some Power Platform today. We're going to be showing some other information, but it all starts in and around one area, which we're going to call, and it's going to be teams. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we see with project innovation and get in here. I'm going to try to share it, but I'm just going to move the screen all the way down. So What we've been seeing across the industry is landing on one platform. Make it easy for folks, okay? We just saw a lot of different technologies, Microsoft, and they could be other competitor technologies. It doesn't really matter. Teams plays nicely with everything. And what we're going to be focusing on the lens today is 3 or 4 of those points that we just made. So how do we actually harness and create and show the visibility of the information that we're trying to achieve when we move towards this digital transformation and start ramping up with different tools and processes? How can we see all this? Where do we start communicating in all this? Well, the base of the communication could happen right here in Teams. In this case, we have project intake, or maybe we call it innovation. We have an area where we can post. For those that are familiar with Teams, you have these different tabs up here. You can have different channels. All of this is housed in Office 365. So as I open up the Office 365, I can directly go into any of my application, or maybe search all across Office 365, and in this case, M365. In here we have an area for document repository. We have some other good things. We started to talk about a scenario. And the scenario that we were talking about was to create a request, and that request is going to come in a couple different aspects. Now, when you go through the supply chain or building it, we want to do maybe a prototype. In this case, what we're going to do is we have a brand new model of a printer. It can be anything, a device that you're manufacturing out there. And really what we're going to do is we need to understand the requirements. We need to build a budget. We have to create the resources and see, does this even fit into the overall portfolio? Once leadership and we get the approval and the budget signed off, then we actually can go through the design piece of it. So I actually want to see the design specs all in the same area. I want to be able to update things, get the approvals, and then be able to see how that impacts back to the organization. This new product introduction team, we're going to call it Mark 8 in this case, and we're actually going to create a house or a home for them to be able to talk about the new request, be able to approve different things, be able to see those team members and what they're working on, as well as start to see how the prototype is working, and all the way through fruition to see it completed. And then we can go and say, submit that prototype, let's start creating and doing what we all know in the manufacturing area and create that new type of printer here. So that's what we're going to see in this demonstration. We're going to go through not only project for the web and project and Teams and Word and all these other good pieces, but we're going to start to see how it benefits us and really what the tool set can do. So in this case, we're going to come over and create a new project. Now you can create a new proposal, and it could be something, let's see, from here. And this is where, yeah, we can go and get our Six Sigma type project, or it can be an Agile different project. All these different templates that we have out here. And it could be very simple like this. I click here and we start going through here. Maybe it's a new product development, okay? And I start going through and filling out some information that's going to be there. Now, all of this information comes in housed in a different form. And you can see as I click through here, it's a very simple form. But all these proposals, all this information is going to be housed somewhere. It could be housed in a simple SharePoint list. And from this SharePoint list, you could actually say, hey, I would like to take this new idea and bring it into our portfolio. This has budget. It's been vetted through our organization. I want to actually push this into our area. And why I paused here is you're going to start to see some of these that are going to start to light up, and we're going to start to see resource and different availability. However, if we created a new project request, right, there would be some information that would be residing behind that. So where do we actually get some of this information? This is where you could use the power of something called Power Apps here, and you could start to create project, and this could create and auto-generate our team for us. So in this case, there's some submitter information. As we look down below, there's a new project, and I could just say, this is, whoops, the Mach 8 new printer, and I could, go off here and create all this information. Now, rather than me filling out all this, is my requester here, my department, is there a high complexity, low, or medium? I'm going to go ahead and select low. And then my request itself. Now there's a lot in here, folks, and I just want to show some different examples. Whether you have toggles, it could be lookup, you could have required fields here. Is it growth? Now you probably fill all this information out. Now the other area here that you could have is talking about digital transformation and automation. Do you, during the project request, want to create an area where we can start communicating? We can start building that business case or potentially project charter if it happens to go down that path. Or do we start creating the demand, right? And as far as the DMAIC, process, and we follow that tried and true, and we really engage in what we go across the Six Sigma methodology here. Now, this is just a simple toggle. Do we want to create a team? Yes, no. And then you saw all those different templates that were out there. Well, we could select one here. Is it a simple project team? What does it do? And then I can actually go ahead and save this or actually go off and run this. Now, behind the scenes, what we're doing here is we're running a flow, and it's going to go off and create a project. And you can send this off for approvals. It can have an email that goes off there and everything that comes naturally with that. Now, rather than walking through all this, and I'm going to go ahead and say, behind the scenes, this is creating a team. I could go down and wait for my team to actually be created here. But since this is a demo, I'm going to go ahead and create one that we already did. And here's our Mach 8. Oh, mouse is jumping around here. My Mach 8 project team. And as I start to go into my Mach 8 project team, there are different tabs and different channels that can actually be created. So we talked about, getting into here and starting to see the design or maybe the go-to-market plan from here. This is where you can take the different pieces of your process and map it directly to what we're going to see within a tool set. Now, you might have a product roadmap in this case, and this could pull in a view and a report that's out there. You could have your actual your different plan or your brochures. In this case, we're going out and doing some marketing research or product research in this case for this 3D printer. What came back in the different focus groups? How many people were actually excited for it? Where's the data that says, hey, we should be going forward with this actual project? And where's the focus group information, right? All of this maybe market research that's supporting whether we should go forward with this tool or not. From a plan perspective, you could actually take all the different tasks that are out there and say, hey, we want to now use different tool sets and be able to come in here and work on the document itself. So whether it's importing your schematics from one of your different architectural tools out there, bringing in, or you just have a simple PowerPoint presentation. This is really where you can start, multi-editing and creating this. Now, whether it's the brochure, I'm going to go ahead and click on just my plan here. And the plan, depending on what you selected, whether it goes through the DMAIC process or whether it goes through Agile or if it's a high complexity, this is now the plan that you're going to start to see. And now this is reflected in buckets. So now you can actually have, project in the background creating these, at a nth degree, but maybe your team, isn't really familiar with Microsoft Project and they just want to see the tasks and they want to be able to drag and drop from one group to the next, or they want to be able to go in and see a list of, who's assigned to, or is it in progress? What you can do is you can connect Microsoft Project in with something that you're showing here, which is Planner, or you can use the out-of-the-box project for the web. Very easy, very lightweight tool to create tasks and make those different assignments. So as you start going through, you have a lot of different opportunities here to manage your team and manage these different projects. Now, from that vision of the tool set of creating a particular project, I'm just going to create and open up just a sample project here. This is a lightweight project, And now, I'm not sure about you, but what we've heard is that there are some really good organizations that have project management, and they've been trained in and around project management. And that might be great for those folks. But we also have those engineers out there, maybe the floor manager, and they haven't used project that much, and they just need a very quick and easy tool. As you can see here, we might think in terms of Excel. And those folks might want to come in and say, you know what, I want to add a bunch of different tasks here. And maybe I have dependencies, or, I just need to start. That's all I need. Okay, I want to put a bunch of dates here. I might have people that are assigned to, in this case. I could have percent complete. Maybe I want, buckets in this case, sprints or not. And if I don't want something, I can just come in here and hide it. Very easy, very quick. If I click on a particular task here, I can do a bunch of things. It's very intuitive, very easy to start create and now manage this work from the perspective of maybe an engineer or somebody that hasn't been classically trained in Microsoft Project. Now, the nice thing about this tool, being Project for the web, is it is light, it is very quick, but other folks don't think in terms of just Excel. They might, again, want that same board that you saw over in that other view. Now we happen to be looking by sprint. You could be looking by assigned to or in progress, whatever it happens to be. If it is progress, you might want to actually just, drag and drop things, to, and notice when I pull it from not started to progress, it actually puts my 50%. So a lot of people like this easy, this look and feel of the new tool set. And then lastly, people always ask about the timeline. Give me a Gantt chart, because that's what we're used to here, creating different Gantt charts, but I want it simple. I want to be able to have a live Gantt chart here where, if I come in here and I, outdent something, or maybe I even insert a new task in this case, I can insert a new task up. I start typing in, whatever happens to be, assigning my resources right from here, with one or two clicks, and then actually making my assignment. And I can actually take this, I could drag, I can put different dependencies here in and through my different Gantt view here. And this is all, project. So as you're starting to move your organization from, maybe Excel or some other tool, there are a lot of different tools that you can start to use across your organization during this different transformation. Now, all of this can be rendered directly, as you can see over here, within Teams. And that's where we want to keep everybody in one area as you start to do this. Now, another area is going to be your reporting area. So say you're taking a look and you want to start to see some analytics information. In this case, we're going to go and say maybe operations information. It's going to take that data. In this example, we are creating, we are creating an actual product, but in here, we're just going to look at a different dashboard here, and it's going to look at different growth, okay, of the organization. And what we're doing here is we're just pulling this information into Power BI, rendering it directly within the tool set, meaning Teams here. So you can see everything right here. And it has the rich capability of analytics through Power BI. If I want to come in here and take a look at a particular project, and maybe want to look at the fourth coffee, it automatically filters for you through these different segments. And you could have a portfolio dashboard that's coming in here and taking a look at all of our projects. And I'll show you that in just a second. Or you could have a dashboard that specifically has different tiers where you're going to focus in on different areas. And maybe we want to just look at the finance and what terms and that brings back to the organization. And how does that look by different segments of your organization? So all of this information is really at your fingertips. So what we showed here is the ability to come in, use different technologies to actually create a project, use a template to either create a high complexity project that you can see over here, or potentially a low complexity project where it shows you, maybe we do have issues and risks or things like that. And going to show you the level of detail that you have here. Everything from meeting minutes to issues and risks, all of this can be automated through your organization as you start to capture this information and really provide that visibility across the organization. Now, last we did talk about is, since we're focusing on project and resource management and being able to see that visibility, there are different views and dashboards that you create. Here's one that we have up here. It goes from everything from a portfolio dashboard, how are our projects doing, what is the effort, and then down here looking at a list, a holistic view of all of our tasks that are on that particular project, to maybe a milestone timeline or portfolio timeline, where you're going to see your timeline that's going to span out over the given time that you have within your portfolio. And you can actually increase or decrease the time to actually see only what you want within your time period, whether it's quarters, months, days, etc. Seeing that entire list of projects come up here. Now, from a milestone perspective or maybe a resource perspective, this is all very helpful, information. All this information can be exported directly, okay, out, or you can save this. Whether folks say, hey, I want PowerPoint, well, you can do that. Most organizations send a link or they use this directly because they want the interaction with the data and be able to drill down to that level of detail. Now, we did talk about resources, and we have a couple of resource dashboards here. When we take a look, we have 172 resources. Where are they working? Now, if we were to add that new Mach 8 project into this portfolio, how does that impact our resources? Are we overallocated? Can we even do this? You can have a dashboard here that shows above the waterline and below the waterline of all your projects that are out there. So very quickly, very easily being able to take that information and have it at our fingertips. You went from the portfolio level of understanding if a project fits in, whether it's cost or resource, all the way down to, hey, show me my work across this entire organization. How do I see what projects I happen to be on? Now, in this case, I only have 2 projects that I'm working on, but I can see that I have some things that are overdue, okay? And I also have things that are completed. I can go directly in here and actually see that information. And what I like about all these is this ability to go back and chat, okay? Where are you chatting? We're always going back to that collaborative area of teams. So as you're working through the organization and you're sharing information, there's knowledge base to this. You can go ahead and search right up here. Search for a particular document or how it's been. You also have the ability to say, hey, I want to see everything that's saved. In this case, like, hey, that was a really good post. I want to go ahead and save that. So you can go ahead and type and search across everything. This is my view of what saved, because I really wanted to take a look at, the electronic outdoor capability and what was published here. So within Teams, you have that rich history that's there. So what we wanted to do is show you a little bit about some of the digital transformation, taking your organization from a work management, also resource management and perspective, taking that innovation of creating those different projects, automatically creating a house, a home for your different project, and being able to have folks both internally and externally have access to the tool set, which we're going to call Teams in this case, or our project team. All right. Well, we're just about wrapping up. I told you it'd be a long, an hour full that's out there, and we have many more offerings that are out there. So I do want to just take advantage of this. If you saw something, or if you'd like to take the next step and increase your digital transformation there at your organization, we have different workshops. Here are just a few, anywhere from a project-driven workshop all the way into maybe creating one of those apps that you saw, that intake app, or something else that you have. The teams, how do we harvest and how do we manage getting people into teams? I want to create a project team. I want to be able to have collaboration. The Teams workshop would be an offering for you. You can reach out to us at info@PPM Works to see that information at any time. And you can really reach out to us, throughout anything. But if there's one place that I do recommend that you go ahead and make sure you subscribe, it is our YouTube channel. This posting will be out there, this video, along with several others. We do 3-4 hour sessions, we do hour sessions, and we do 15-minute sessions that are out there. If we find an issue or solution that we're working on with a particular client, we'll make sure that it's vetted and it's public ready, and we'll get that out there so all that knowledge can go directly to you folks. Now, I know as we're wrapping up, there might be some questions. You can go ahead and submit your questions through the Q&A tab that's out there, and we'll make sure that we can answer those in a timely manner. We've seen this work. We've worked with organizations, and taking a look at just a few out here, TransAlta, $3 billion organization, multinational out there, really took this upon themselves. They have operations throughout Canada, Australia, US, to say. And what they did is they took this and they actually started getting into this process by using teams and collaborating and having these teams that are co-located all throughout Microsoft Teams. They went through very detailed areas and very hybrid models of project management when they did this. And they really were able to transform the organization and look from a total cost of ownership. They saw it actually start to shrink because folks are starting to use the technology in the way that they should. Well, folks, on behalf of Microsoft and Jeff, as well as PPM Works, we wanted to thank you for being on today. We look forward to seeing you on our next webcast, or maybe even taking a look at our next YouTube recording that's out there. So we wanted to thank you very much. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and email us at info@ppmworks, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and enjoy it. Bye now.